Hi guys, and welcome to another video on our make tutorials. And again, this is actually a basic tutorial, and we want to make like a full batch of videos for make, so you can actually get to use it and to know every single detail about make. Because when you feel comfortable and you understand exactly what you can do with make, it's way easier to create the automation. So again, this is one of the videos of a series of make.com tutorials that we want to make. So this is for you if you are a beginner, if you are just starting out creating automations. This is a video where we explain how to use iterators and aggregators in your automations, why you use them, what you need them for, and basically try to understand a little bit the process of thinking and when do you think you can use them. Okay, because that's I think the most important thing. And basically, as you guys can see, this is a test. I will show you exactly how an aggregator and iterator works. These are basically modules that you come here on the flow control, and you have all of these these like for error handlings, and we will have another video about errors. But the two main ones that we will use is these ones, iterator and array aggregator. And basically, to explain, of course, the aggregator is pretty explanatory. So basically, it's you have like separate data, and you want to aggregate everything in one kind of output. The other one is exactly the opposite, right? So you have like just one bundle with a lot of information, and you want to split the information to be used individually, okay, or to run the module for each and every single bundle or output that you want, okay. And I actually found this kind of cool image that I want to show you before we run these two tests. And I don't know if you can see it here. I'll try to zoom in here, but it's basically explains what an iterator and an aggregator are, right? So for example, basically, as you can see, you use the iterator to split. So for example, if you have a weather forecast by, for example, like an API, and it grabs the entire, for example, the entire days of a week for your city, like New York, for example, right? This probably just give you like one bundle. I'll show you an example in a second, but all the information is inside one module, like one output, right? Then you use the iterator to split by day. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. And you can use these then to send like notification and email every single day for you with the exact date, with the weather for that day. And then the aggregator, as you can see, is when you have a lot of rows, a lot of data, you want to aggregate them all in one. So for example, imagine that you have a spreadsheet with all the dates with the weather for Monday, Tuesday, and so on, but you want to send a Slack notification or a WhatsApp message or an email with all the weather for that week, all of them combined. So in that case, you use an aggregator because you want to aggregate all the rows, all the data in one, then to send, for example, an email with everything on it, right? Because if you don't use the aggregator, just an example, and you run an email, so you have like a module of email, he will send an email for each row you have. Okay, so if you have like a row for each day, you'll get seven emails, because it will be an email per each day, right? So that's the difference between an iterator and an aggregator. And to be honest, most of the things that we use for these is two things. One is mostly with Google Sheets. So every time I want to split data for Google Sheets, or I want to aggregate data from a Google Sheet, so for example, imagine like a Google Ads report, I want to aggregate all, like for example, the cost per click, the total spend and so on. I want to aggregate everything in one text to send to my Slack, for example, as a notification. I will use an aggregator. If I have, I don't know, for example, the iterator will be like, and I'll show you like a JSON format where I have all the codes, like all the names in the JSON format, and I want to split by name. I can also use the iterator. In there, another example that we use a lot is we do a lot of scraping and email grabbing. So we use Apollo to grab emails from people, and when it grabs those emails, everything comes in one single output. But then I wanna send an email for every single person. So I use the iterator to split people and send to individual emails for those people. So this is basically what an iterator and an aggregator is. And again, the thing about it is like mostly, as I said, we use it for Google Sheets data and for Apollo for emails, outreach, and so on. But you can use in different things. I want you to think about what they are and how can you use them in your workflow, right? So let me give you an example. I think that's the best way, right? So let's start with the aggregator, okay? So I have this example here. This is the aggregator here. Again, as I said, if you go let me hide these. If you go all the way to flow controls, or you just type in Iterator or Aggregator, you'll have these two. And for example, let's give you example number one. So example number one, we have, this is Feedly. So basically it's like an aggregator of news. It grabs a news about, for example, AI. And what I want is to then aggregate everything in one. So I want to send an email with all the news from that day, for example. Okay. So to show you how this actually works, I will show you that, I just run one test, but this is a spreadsheet. Okay. So I will run the news one time. So you can see, because every single new will be a separate new. Okay, so when the Feedly comes and grabs the information, it grabs the information by bundles, and every bundle it's a news, right? So it separates by row every single one of them. But imagine that I want to send an email with all the news combined. So I need to combine all the news, right? So let me run for you so you can see it. Okay, so we have Feedly, as you can see here. I will grab 5 news from newsletters. Then I will send all the news for Google Sheet, and I put it here. So I just create another row, and you see that you grab one. Every single row will be one. And then I use the aggregator, and I'll show you in a second what we put it here. And you'll grab everything in one. And you can see here, I can even I just run it so you can see it. So if I come here, you can see that every single new is a bundle, right? Like it's inside a collection, right? So it's just one operation. We have one bundle. This is one new Google Launch AI video generation. Then you have bundle 2. AI just got way cheaper. Then there's another new, which is pretty similar than this one, but the ID is different. So maybe it's another source. And then you have another news here bundle. So they are separate news. Okay, so when I run it, and you'll see it, let me just run for you so you can see in Flash. So when you run it, it will be one basically per row, right? So I'll run it here so you guys can see it, and let me just push it up. And if I run it, and I'll explain the aggregator in a second, but you will see that, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you see the difference. So this was just one with all the bundles, and as you can see, there is 5 different rows, 5 different outputs, and you can see if I go here, there are 5 operations. So from 1 it turns to 2 to 5, because it's 5 different news, and I want to aggregate them. So I can use them individually if I want. Okay, and you can see here the test. You can see all of them in here by a row. 1, 2, 3. These are all the titles. I just put it this for a test so you guys can see it, right? So then when we use the aggregator, you see the output is just, this is the input, okay, all the bundles, 5 bundles, and the output is just one. So as you can see, is inside of one array. So, okay, so if I want to send an email right now and I put the array, it will be the entire information there. Okay, so all of these are inside of one array, and here are separate. Okay, and this is pretty simple. So you basically put an array aggregator where you want, and the key thing here is that you need to choose where it starts splitting the information. Okay, so in this case, it started with Feedly. It didn't start with normally it didn't never start with the Google Sheet. Only if you want to start with the Google Sheet as the output. But imagine that you have a pretty long workflow. Always remember that if there is an error on aggregator or in the iterator, you always need to go back and find where the information started to split. So where actually the source of that information. So the source is not the Google Sheet. The source actually started with Feedly. It starts separated all of the bundles, sent to the spreadsheet, but I want to aggregate everything. So what you'll do is here on source module, you can choose all the before modules before this one. So you have to choose Feedly, because it's the one that started with the different modules. And then here, just custom is the only one that you will have. You need another module in front of it to change this target, but for now it doesn't make sense for this tutorial. So basically you choose Feedly, and then you can select all the fields. If you want, you can just be really picky. I like to put select all, because then I want to choose and whatever I want to use after this. But as you can see, if you click OK, now is one array. So this is aggregator. Okay, guys, and as I said, this is really important for Google Sheets. So you have a lot of rows. You want to condense all the information, and I think probably that's the more often thing I do with aggregators is Google Sheets. You have a lot of rows. You want to grab all the information in one and send an email, for example. You want to send a Slack notification. You want, for example, ChatGPT to read everything and give you a conclusion. That's it. Okay, guys, you can actually aggregate everything. Okay, so this is number one. So this is aggregating data, and as I said, this is probably the top two modules you use: Google Spreadsheet and aggregating those data in one bundle array only. Okay, so as you guys can see here, this is a module. Okay, so this is one. The other one is the iterator, so the opposite. So you have just one information, everything inside of one array, and you want to split them to use different things. As I give you an example, if I have emails and I use Apollo, for example, they only give one output. Is everything is inside one thing. So if I want to send an email for each individual person with the email that I grab from Apollo, I wanted to separate that information. Okay, and here I made, let me push this so I can show you. I made here just a quick example for you guys to see it. So basically what I did was I set up a variable. Basically what I did was I made a JSON and I asked ChatGPT to make me a JSON code with 3 names on it. So Emily, John, and Michael, and some information about them. Imagine that you have some information, the street, the city, the text, the zip code, and the job title here, completely random, and then I just parse the JSON. The thing I did is just to give you an example, because when you parse JSON, everything is inside one bundle. So I wanted to show you, and if I just unlink it and I run it so you guys can see it, you'll see that both of them, you can see that the information it says one, right? So if it says one is one output, so you can see here all the people are inside. So John Smith, the address, the age, Emily. So everything is one inside one bundle. So there's no separation. Okay, if I run all of these, it will run John, and it overrides, with Emily and so on and so on. So it just be one output. Okay, so what if I want to send, for example, I want to send all of this information to a spreadsheet, right? Because right now, if I send to these to the spreadsheet, it will be everything conglomerated. It will be like narrow, kind of like messy, because everything is one thing. So how can you split this, right? Because everything is inside one bundle, right? So the thing you do is an iterator. Okay, and now let me just connect it here. And the iterator is even easier than aggregator because you don't need the sources, because it always grabs the previous one. Okay, so basically what I did, you click here on map, you can choose items, but I prefer to map it. So what I want is the people, as you can see, is the main category or the main bundle. You can see everything else is inside. So I want to split the people or the main category with everything on it, right? So I put the array here, and it will be splitted, right like that. And then I just put the spreadsheet here, and you'll see, of course, now I have the name because I already run one time. But if you just run, and I'll unlink it so you guys can see it. If I just run this, you see here, even if it says one, there is 3 bundles, so 3 outputs, right? So they're already separated. So when I come here and I connect the Google Sheet, and I choose life and this is just don't care about the title URL. I'm just using the same spreadsheet so you guys can see it on the test. But if I put the name, as you can see here, everything is here. So I put the name, I put the title on the URL, doesn't matter, and then I just choose the address, completely random. Okay, but when you run all of these, it will create a separate sheet for each, because it assumes it's a different bundle for everything. Okay, that's the importance of the iterator. If you don't have this, everything will be just one row, really messy. Okay, so if I click OK and let me run all of this to finish, you see 3 instead of 1. Okay, so now if I come here, you'll see that there is 3: John, Emily, and Michael, and separated. So even if I want to send, I don't know, John to my Slack channel, like as a notification, I can send only John. I can send only Emily, because now I have the rows. So I can even say, like right now, for example, another thing is that every time there is a new row, or I can do another automation, and I can continue the automation separately, because now I have separate operations. Now I can do, like, I can even put filters, like I just wanna uh, the row with the name John, and just continue the automation. Okay, so this is why it's really important. And I was already getting really big this video. I don't want it. I want to really short videos and for the basic stuff. So this is how arrays and iterators and aggregators work. And as I said, most of the times we use it for Google Spreadsheets to aggregate data in only one, or separate it to use after that, or just send to a spreadsheet. Again, we use it a lot for email finders, but the concept is always the same. If you have different bundles, you'll run individually, and then it will be like operations, right, for each one of the bundles. If you just have one bundle, but you have all the information inside, like all the peoples, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you want to grab that person, you use the iterator to separate that information. Okay, guys, so hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next basic video about Make.